Hello, hobby friends, and welcome to the first episode of Hobby News Live. I'm your host, David Baez, and in today's inaugural episode, we are going to talk about one of my favorite hobbies, 70's baseball cards and unopened material. But before we get started with our discussion, I just wanted to kind of go over a couple things with you guys. First off, I wanted to take a minute to just explain a little bit about the format on the air and just kind of go over a little bit about what Hobby News Live is going to be. More importantly, what the difference is between Hobby News Live and Hobby Talk Live. So in a nutshell, it all stemmed from a great Hobby Talk Live episode that we had last year in December with Aaron and Kurt. And, after we did our Hobby Talk where we ripped, we were, just having fun out, and doing the usual Hobby Talk Live episode, we kind of went into a discussion on cards, and we kind of went into a discussion on, what ultimately ended up as Q&A. So long story short it was a great discussion, and it really inspired, in a lot of offline conversation with folks. It really opened up the idea of kind of taking the two ideas and kind of ripping them apart and keeping Hobby Talk Live as that kind of late night talk show, fun, banter, just having a great time, and making Hobby News Live an outlet for us to kind of talk about the hobby and to hear what you guys have to say to us, because, we'll have different guests and different episodes. We'll touch different topics. And ideally what we want to do is help our fellow hobbyists learn more about a certain topic or a certain, player, whatever the case may be. So I think an outlet like this is great. And we definitely would love throughout the course of today's episode to see you guys fire off as many questions as you want. We'll do our best to get to all of them and answer them. So again, that's what we wanted to do with this. Hobby News Live is going to be panel discussion. Think about it like cable news network. It's just going to be, you bring guests on, we talk about a couple things, and we answer your questions. All right. So that's that in a nutshell. The other thing I wanted to kind of talk about real quick was a quick announcement about the Hobby Networking Group. Just wanted to let you guys know that I'm in the works in the coming weeks to start a merchandise portion to the Hobby Network, hobbynetworkgroup.com page. So more details to come on my Facebook group and on YouTube. So keep your eye open for that. And, as always, appreciate the support. It's going to be some fun stuff, some, your typical merch, shirts and hoodies and stuff like that. So, again, stay tuned for that. So without further ado, we're going to get right into it. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce today's guest for episode 1 of Hobby News Live. So let's go ahead and do that. These are some familiar faces, as you guys know, and I'm going to spare them the comedic intros that I do at Hobby Talk Live, because I've hit them both pretty hard in the past. So I want to welcome, as always, it's an absolute pleasure to have Mike Cirincione and Kurt Christensen on the show. Thank you guys so much for joining me today.
Glad to be here.
Yep, glad to be here. Talking cards, fun stuff.
Absolutely. And today's episode is an awesome one. I figured, hey, look, episode 1, what should we talk about, right? 70's market on baseball cards, the history of it, the trends, and unopened. Those are just right in our collective wheelhouse. So, I'm really looking forward to talking to you guys about that today. And what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to turn the comments on. And like I mentioned, guys, bring those questions in. Any questions you have, fire away. We're all ears. But in the meantime, of course, we do have some great stuff to talk about, and we even have some great stuff to show you guys in our collection. So let's break the ice a little bit here, guys, with a question that I get asked a lot. And Mike, if you don't mind, why don't you start us off on this one? What do you consider to be the most popular 70s set, and why?
For me, from what I've seen over the years, especially participating in the CU PSA message boards and just in the hobby in general, 75 tops baseball. Seems like there's a very, very strong following. Not only the regular 75, but also the minis as well. Has a very rabid fan base for those cards. It's my personal favorite as well. I just think it's just a very iconic 70s set, very colorful set, has a lot of star power, has a lot of great rookie cards in the set. So for me, that's always been the set that seems like most people, when you ask them what their top 70s set is, as far as baseball goes, they always point to 75.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that. Kurt, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, obviously 75 we know is up there. I'll take it a few years earlier. For me, it's 71 tops, the black border beauties. And I'll go back to the years where I'm set up at the National. We usually have a lot of commons for sale, and the number one year we always get asked for commons. Just nice, raw set filling commons is always 71 tops. People are always looking for singles of that year. Probably not as big of name rookies in there, compared to 75, but you do have Bly Levin and now Ted Simmons in the Hall, Steve Garvey, but like Mike said, I think 71 even adds a few other big name Hall of Famers are in that set. Aaron, Clemente, are in there. But to me, it's 71 tops. And like I said, the exposure and the questions that we could ask at the National for cards, 71 always outweighs any other issue in the 70s for me.
Yeah, when you said 71, I immediately started thinking about one of the most iconic cards in the set, and it's not his real rookie, but many consider it to be, which is Thurman Munson, and that awesome action shot with, yeah. I mean, it's not to take away from the 70s rookie, but man, that's a great card, and personally, that's the one I would own. But you're right. I think the one of the factors of the 71 popularity is how absolutely difficult it is to find in good condition as well. The black borders not only pop and they look great, but they're really, really hard to find in good condition for the obvious reason. For me, guys, I kind of lean toward Mike on this one, 75, but the big asterisk, the 1B for me is, of course, everyone that knows me knows I'm a big 78 fan, but for a lot of the similar reasons that Mike mentioned, I'd put 78, pretty high on the list. The star power in that set is phenomenal. And it's loaded with a lot of Hall of Famers, or in my opinion, even a soon to be Hall of Famers, in Whittaker, and even though it's not his rookie, but close to it, the Murphy card as well. You also have the Gold Cup Dawson card, so and plus all the Hall of Famers that were either in the tail end of their careers, but it's a set that as I built the set from scratch, at one point. You don't have to go very far in numerical order before you hit a card that a player that or a Hall of Famer, or a big name. It's a great set, and but I still think I would get, as much as I love 78s, I think for the intents and purposes of the question, I would go with 75, and myself. So, great. So again, guys, just a reminder. Fire away with any questions. Today's topic is 70s baseball. Anything you guys want to talk about, any questions, fire away. I see the comments are starting to roll in. And, I'll keep on firing away here, guys. I'll ask you, what's the most difficult 70s Hall of Famer or rookie card to get in a high grade? Kurt, let's start off with you on that one.
Well, you probably can guess where I'm going. I just talked about 71 tops. The last time I checked, and I still believe it's true, the Bert Blyleven rookie in 71 tops is still a pop 110, I believe. So I don't know, of all the Hall of Fame rookies, through the 70s, I'm not sure if there's one that is less than that. I'll say one other, though, and it's not his rookie, but it's right up there. 76 George Brett, I believe, is pop 0 and a 10. So those are two cards that I always think about in 70s. The 76 Brett second year card, and then the Bert Blyleven as a pop 110.
Yeah, that's good. What do you think, Mike?
I mean, I had a visual aid here. 76 Brett, as you can see, top to bottom, not very well centered. Not his rookie card, though, as we said. So for my rookie card, I'd say the Ozzy. The 73 Ozzy is a tough card to find centered.
That is a really, really tough card. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
And the reason for that is, I don't know if people collect uncut sheets, but on the uncut sheet, Ozzie Smith is right up almost to the top corner of the sheet. It's right along the edge, and any of those edge cards always have problems as far as centering goes because of the way they cut the sheets at tops at the factory. So any cards that you would have on the edges would always have problems with the centering. So that's a telltale sign. If you look at sheets and you could almost pick out any sheet and pick cards along the side, those are the cards that would be tough to get in a high grade.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was trying to think, so on the 75s is because is another one. The Yount's a pretty tough one, right? I don't want to overstate. I haven't really collected much that card, but I heard that there's some centering issues with that one. Is that one in that?
The pops on the 75 rookies, I mean, they're all tough, but they're going to be more pop than like the Ozzy. Yeah. Ozzy has less pop. I think his pop 5 or 6, Mike.
Yeah, I didn't do my homework, so I didn't look it up. But I know just from experience, looking at so many cards over the years, people pulling cards from packs, always off center, and just not even just a little bit off center, just horribly 90-10 off center. Just really, really super tough card.
Yeah, I think the few times I've ever bought, raw, the best I've ever gotten is like a 6 or a 7 on an Ozzy. It's just and the O-Pee-Chee. God, that's let me not even start with that. But I guess I'll ask the question now, guys. I mean, let's ask the same exact question on O-Pee-Chee. Is there anything that stands out differently there, or would you still pick, let's say, an Ozzy on that one?
Definitely the Ozzy for sure.
Yeah, Ozzy. I think it's unanimous, right?
For sure.
Yeah, that's tough.
I haven't studied those pop reports, but just judging on raw cards that I see that just surface. Obviously, there's 79 O-Pee-Chee Ozzies out there. They're not high grade, but I would just take a stab. Wonder what the pop on like a 74 O-Pee-Chee Dave Winfield is. I'm not sure I've ever seen one just laying in front of me. There's the supply of that card is much smaller. I'm not sure condition wise how it grades, but some of those early 70s cards are just very hard just to even locate for O-Pee-Chee. And then that just as a thought, I don't I wonder what that pop is on the 74 Winfield. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and that's something as we get into the weeds, even in future episodes, we're definitely gonna have that kind of dug up on a screen share just to kind of look at it as we talk, because it's just interesting because originally in my head I always had the Ozzy, but now as we were just talking, my mind's just racing about like potentially some of these other cards like the O-Pee-Chee variations or even the minis, right? In terms of how difficult maybe some of these cards truly are, to get in a 9 or a 10. So, I would say I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, you brought up 75 minis. I know one in particular, the Claudel Washington in a mini is a very, very tough card to get centered. I would think pop is very low on that one.
Would it and forgive my ignorance on it, but are the sheets different on the minis that potentially make it even harder, right? When they were getting them kind of sliced and diced for the packs, right? Because there's just being a smaller card, right?
Yeah, that would be interesting. I would assume that the sheets are the same, but I've never personally seen a mini sheet to compare. But just knowing collation with tops, I would think they set it up the same, that the sheets would be the same. I wouldn't see any reason why it would have been different. But if somebody else out there has a 75 mini sheet and they want to comment and let us know, that'd be great.
Here you go, David. We just said if we should look something up. So
Yeah.
74 O-Pee-Chee, Dave Winfield, rookie. I got it right on my phone here, and this is almost mind-boggling. He has only 54 total graded cards, 54 total, 0 10s, 2 9s, and then the bulk are 7s and 8s.
Wow.
So only 54 total graded cards. That's why I've never seen one.
Yeah, that's an extremely scarce. And I know when talking to Tom Salem from OPC Baseball, he did mention that one of the tougher ones was a 74 set. Now we were talking about it, I remember that in the interview that I did with him a couple months ago. Guys, it looks like we have a question or two coming in here, so we'll hit the pause on these questions here. And Kevin was just asking if we can clarify a little bit. He said, "But what is it for someone that's collected for years but never had one graded? What are you guys talking about when you refer to the pop?" Kurt, you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I guess when we refer to the pop, it's for lack of the other grading companies, we'll just say PSA graded cards. When PSA grades a sports card, they have a online population report. POP is short for population report on their website. So like that 1974 O-Pee-Chee Dave Winfield, you go to the PSA website and you can search that card and it'll show how many of those examples PSA has graded and in a particular grade. You could find the same thing for 79 O-Pee-Chee Ozzie Smith. So many cards total graded and then however many in each grade. So the pop is the total population graded by a specific grading company.
Aaron was quite honest with us as an 80s collector. I love that. So guys, just a quick heads up for the Facebook users. You don't have, there's a little link that you would have to click so that it would show me your name. You don't have to do that, but if you're not going to do that, just shoot, if you want me to mention your name during the question, just put your name in the actual comments or your initials, whatever you want, so I can reference it. But we do have a question from a Facebook user that says, who would be on your Mount Rushmore of 70s rookies card? That's an awesome question. Mike, why don't you start us off there?
Well, I have to start out with 75. So George Brett and Robin Yount would have to be on mine for sure. Besides that, Schmidt, the 73 Schmidt, I'm up to 3. The 74 Winfield. And I guess if I was to pick one more,
honorable mention, the last head that's going to be in the distance.
I guess I have a sweet spot for the Carlton Fisk, the 72 Carlton Fisk.
Yeah, that's cool. How about you, Kurt?
I'll have a couple that are the same. I would probably go with the 70 Munson. I would go with 73 Schmidt, 75 Brett, and 79 Ozzie. Those would be my 4.
All right. Yeah, I think we all agree on the Brett. I'll definitely go with the Brett as one of my 4. I'm going to have to go with, to me, the only for now true dual rookie card out there, which is the Molitor Trammell. I think that's such a unique card, that, and I wasn't huge fans of both players, but to have 2 Hall of Famers sharing the space, the only other card arguably in any era that you can say that's that level star power is the soon to be dual Hall of Famer of Pujols and Ichiro from the 2001 series. But look how far you have to go. And if I'm wrong, somebody correct me, because I can't honestly think of another one that would kind of hit that level, right? So Molitor Trammell for me is definitely in that. I know I'm kind of cheating, right? Because that's 2 players. But I would add Ozzie to that list. And I think the last one, Schmidt's a good one. So we do have some common there.
We all agreed on Schmidt and Brett.
Schmidt and Brett for sure.
Schmidt and Brett definitely for sure.
Yeah. So let's see what else we got going on here. And 70
There we go. Ozzy is 5-2.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Oh, here's a question from Josh. The best card of the 70s, the Don Ass rookie.
Oh,
that's up
right
for
here.
That's
there he is.
Oh, you have it.
Yeah.
right on.
Any real collector would have that in their collection.
Arguably
Can't go anywhere without it.
Arguably one of the best Mets to ever play. Oh man, that's too funny. All right, so we have some comments coming in. Fisk or Murray. There's some folks that are saying, "Wow, we didn't pick." I picked Molitor. This must have been before I went. Yeah, but you know what? Look, there's some honorable mentions coming in here that are true, and this is why hard. You know, when you say the Mount Rushmore, it's a lot harder. You know, you got a whole decade worth of amazing players, right, in a decade. But you know, we left out Murray, and look, me being a huge 78 fan, that wasn't easy to leave Murray out. But it's hard. You look at some of these players.
I'm hoping the Red Sox fans were happy that I mentioned the guy Carlton Fisk, and
that wasn't easy, Mike.
Yeah, there he is.
Oh man, yeah. So Dale Murphy, you know, there's a lot of great cards. Whittaker, you know, Don Ass. Yeah, so there's there's the pole.
Big Pole is one of my favorites.
Was he ever a Met?
No, he was not a Met. Was a Red Sox though.
Yes, he was.
Oh man. So we have, let's see. Oh, here we go. Michael Honeyman just joined us. Was Kurt's haircut style in a particular 70s baseball card in mind? Kurt, you want to take that one?
I keep hearing it's more like some 70s hockey hairstyle. So we might be in the wrong broadcast talking about baseball. We need to move into some 70s hockey.
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe Don Maloney.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh man. Yeah, so we got a lot of folks chiming in on the Dawson piece. Yeah, look, there's no argument there. That's definitely one of the tops.
300. I mean, very few players hit, 300 stolen bases, 300 homers.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, guys, obviously I didn't mention this in the introduction. I'll mention it now. As the hobby news piece starts evolving, it's going to alternate with hobby talk. And one of the episodes I already have queued up is to do a very similar episode of this, but 80s. And I'm not going to get into it now because we could do this forever, but it's going to be pretty hard to pick a Mount Rushmore from the 80 to 89 era. I'm just leaving it there. That's a tough one. There's going to be a lot of room for debate there. So, but you know what, guys, I'll fire off another question to you guys. And just a reminder, guys, keep the questions coming. Anything you want to talk about, 70s or unopened, let me know. And we'll do another question. And after that, we have some cards we want to show you guys too. So we'll kind of fire a couple of those in between as well. So, Kurt, why don't you start us off on this one? What 70s issue has seen the largest increase in the last 10 years or so in price and popularity that you've seen?
Well, obviously everything's increased. And I think, it's really easy to say, 71 or some earlier stuff has, but I haven't done the math. But I think about back to, 5-6 years ago and what, say, I could pick up like a 79 cello box for, and like what a 79 cello box is going for now. And the percentage of increase now, while the dollars might not be as high as, say, a 71 item, we've seen a tremendous amount of value gain in 78 and 79 products here in the last, 6 months. And where the other 70s issues has always been expensive, and they're obviously worth more too. But I think that jump, I just remember being able to pick up 78, 79 items, for virtually nothing. And now they've really gotten steep.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think I just saw a recent eBay auction on a 79 wrapped box that went for like 3,800 or maybe 3,500. But yeah, I mean, it's a big jump from a couple months ago. Forget years where it was maybe like a $1,500 box. So Mike, I mean, not to call you out here, but I remember in the beginning of my CU days, where we would talk about what you and Tim maybe have saw 78 cello boxes going for. You know, I'm sure you can agree with Kurt on that question, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I jumped back into the hobby, I was buying 78 cello boxes for 400.
Wow. Yeah, that's a hell of a jump, right? Because I think what
wax was maybe 500, a little bit more for the wax,
yeah.
but
And 78s now. I haven't checked lately, but I would assume the market's got to be breaking 4, right? On that,
I
on the
would
cello
think
box.
it's the 4,000 range for a cello box.
Yeah. It's crazy, and we'll see where it ends up. We before we show off some cards here, we have another question that came in, and it's let's see here. What do you think of all of the new products using a lot of the 70s design? That's a great question. I rip with I'll take this one, guys. I rip a lot with my son. He loves, he started, big into it around 2017, and he rips vintage with me too. But we will dabble in the world of Topps Chrome, the usual suspects, and this old timer kind of digs when I get those. We're pulling out, and it's like Mike Trout or IL2, the usual, common players from now or popular players from now. And then every now and then here comes this 35th anniversary Sandy Koufax card, like retro 60s. And my son is like, he's like, oh, that looks all right. And I'm sitting there like, whoa, I want that one. And I'm sleeving it because they just look really cool. So this collector absolutely loves the look and feel, and the fact that because the stock is so much better than the Sandy Koufax from the 60s, you don't have to worry and be so delicate with it, because these suckers can take a beating, with the new stock. So what about you guys? What's your take on that? Let's start with you, Mike.
I mean, I think it's a good idea in the fact that they're trying to generate some business from people that collected those sets back when they originally were released. So they're kind of trying to tap back into that market as well to get the adults in as well as the kids into it. Not for me though. I'm not much of a new card collector these days. So, I'm more stick to my lane with vintage. So I don't really dabble too much into the new shiny stuff, so to speak.
Yeah, I get it. I'll tell you what though, it is cool every now and then. I got this Eddie Murray retro looking card the other day, and because he knows my son knows I'm a big 78 fan. He's instantly like, here you go. But they're cool, and they're trying to bring in the the let's call it the older crowd, the vintage crowd. I still love my vintage, but it's nice. Like the view, the way they look, the aesthetics of it, it's pretty cool. Won't make me necessarily collect it, but it's still pretty cool. Kurt, what's your take on it?
I like it. I think, there's a little marketing going on too, and you kind of hinted on it. If you got kids opening cards with their dads, there's a little storytelling that can, go on there to draw up some interest to the past. 71 Topps is one of my favorite sets of all times. So I was eagerly anticipating last year's release of Heritage with the 71 Topps design. I like some of the vintage relooks, and I think it's just discussion points, and I think Topps is playing on popularity of a lot of those issues, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. So Josh said that if you want to sell him a 78 cello box for 400, that he's it. Hey, I'll put my hand up for that too. If you want to, if either one of you want to sell me a cello box for $400.
I heard Tim is selling one.
Yeah.
405.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Notice how your name's not in the corner anymore. Are you Mike or Tim this episode? Oh man. So great stuff, guys. And like I said, the comments are really starting to pour in here. This is great. Guys, keep them coming. I'll try to share as many as I can. So, Kevin was on eBay right now. He's saying right now eBay has a 79 Peachy wax box BBC sitting for $2,200 with two. Wow, that's an active bid. That's not a buy it now. Jeez,
Mike,
Louise.
what? So, I mean, Mike, what you pay for your first 79 O-Pee-Chee box?
I actually collected O-Pee-Chee later on.
Okay.
I should have bought it. I was buying it paid. Oh, did you lose me?
I think I was losing you there. Kurt, are you losing them too or no?
Yeah, I did. So,
yeah.
Well, I'll just say this. We'll see if Mike gets back on. I bought O-Pee-Chee early on when I started getting into unopened 5, 6, 7 years ago, and I was picking up 79 O-Pee-Chee boxes for $350, $400. This would probably be 2015 range.
That's the crazy part. It wasn't that long ago. You know, it's
No.
It's you hit the nail on the head earlier about like just they're all going up, but that big hit was there.
And even to recently, even last year when we were running up like crazy, I was still getting 79 O-Pee-Chee boxes last year for $750.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that goes back to, I know we were having that offline discussion before, and there you go, Mike. You're back on here, buddy. Can you hear us all right?
Yeah, no, I could hear you guys, no problem. I just was talking and you guys weren't hearing me, so I figured I'd just reboot. So I just rebooted real fast.
You were having a good conversation with Tim then.
Yeah, Tim and I were discussing what our answer was going to be. But to get back to it, we discussed it amongst ourselves, and we said $800 is what we paid for a tape intact one. So
wow, yeah, it's testament to what's going on here. Let's see what else we got going on here. Some funny comments rolling in. Oh man. Oh, there it is.
There it is. The Don-ass card.
On the Red Sox of all teams.
Yeah. And there's our Hall of Famer Jim Rice on the back.
Oh, that's cool. You got Rice and ass. Can't ask for much better.
Good combo.
There you go. It was funny. I think I sent messages to both of you. Like, it's just something, you just forget through the years. But I was kind of sifting through some Topps Tiffany cards that I had the other day, and sure enough, I'm going through my Mets cards, and sure enough, here's Don Ass in a Mets uniform. I think I sent it to both of you. I'm like, I didn't even realize he played for the Mets. I just totally forgot. So that's a keeper. That's a PC for life. So don't ask me to sell it, guys. All right. So it looks like we got some more stuff coming in here. Let's see. Okay, we have a question here. Let's see. Tyler Fellows, what kind of premium do you put on a fast box? 1.5 to 2 times more. This is the year the box changed to premium, referring to 78. Can you discuss when the fast started and thoughts on some sealed wrap boxes could still have nice packs even if not fast? This is great question. Well, Kurt, you want to start us off on this one?
I would say the premium right now for FASC is greater than it was a year ago and 2 years ago and 3 years ago. And I think it will continue to be greater. Obviously, the earlier the year, the more of a premium. For me, let's just take 79 Cello FASC because I know there's some of those around. Let's just say if a 79 Cello box is $3,000, I'm guessing an FASC is at minimum $4,000. Which would be what's that, a 25% bump? I would say that's minimum. As far as when did it start, Mike, you might be better on this. Did Steve start doing FASC 2012-ish range?
I think it was maybe a little bit later, like 13.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I think it might have been 13.
Yeah, on the episode
he would always sell boxes, but he just never indicated that they were from a sealed case. There are a lot of older boxes that Steve would sell that are from a sealed case, but just aren't noted that way. He didn't start noting that until I believe around 2013 or so.
So, I'm not sure we're quite at double yet for issues, but we may get there.
it's definitely trending that way.
Correct. Yeah. But yeah, guys, we're not there yet. And I would say, or at least for me personally, now 70s FASC we know is very hard to get of any issue. Much more of it in the 80s. But I would put the premium on a rack or cello FASC product over a wax product. Just myself personally.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think all in all, that's a great question. I agree with everything you guys said. I think the gap in fast and regular definitely widening, as well as the popularity. You just see more comments in general in the groups saying, I'm looking for this box, but fast only. So there's definitely a deeper understanding within the hobby of why there is a premium for FASC, and then of course the general ask for the FASC, especially for those pack collectors that are looking to kind of look for the star power or the rookie in the front or back, the true unopened collector that's wanting to just kind of slab that cello or that pack. You can find some great stuff in a traditional wrap. Not everybody's kind of going through the bot, but the FASC is the absolute guarantee that you have guarantee that you have a shot, right, to find maybe that star power and all that. But as we well know, and I've participated in some rips, even recently with some of our, with Shane, for instance, with the 83, there's no guarantee. It's not like they're going to open it up and boom, there's Tony Gwynn and boom, there's Ryan Sandberg. We were doing 83, I believe, Fleer. I think one came out, but it's not a guarantee. The whole thing could be full of commons. But I think it's that thrill. It's worth the premium. At least for me, that's my take on it. And I think FASC is going to continue to widen as the years progress. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Guys, I just wanted to make a quick comment. The comments aren't delayed. It's just that the comments only appear here when I click on it. So it's one of those things where if I'm kind of in conversation right now or listening in or whatever, I don't click on it. But it's not that you put it, it's showing up relatively, within a few seconds. And then when I can get around to it, I'm actually popping it up on the big screen here. So again, keep them coming because I could see them all. And little by little, I start rolling them in here, even though if they're a little delayed from when we were talking about it. So
to answer one more thing on Tyler's question, are there products out there you can buy that aren't searched, that aren't FASC? Myself personally, if I buy a FASC box, I'm never taking that wrap off. It's just not worth it to me to go looking. I'm never doing it. To me, the best product to buy is from a trusted source with a backstory, or if I dig it out myself from like a storage unit, or, when you pull out non-FASC product, but you're confident that it's been stored for, since 78 or whenever, that to me is where you find the best of both worlds. You don't have to worry about taking off that premium of the FASC wrap and losing the premium, but you still likely have the star power and what you want in the product. So to me, that's where, I think, the best of both worlds ends up at. And there still is that stuff out there.
No, definitely is.
Yeah, that's a great point. Hopefully one day I'm sifting around a garage and find some 78s. I'll shut off my phone for the whole weekend as I just sift through them. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That's got to be the best of both worlds, because it's really fun to kind of dig around. Even if it's just the like traditional card market, which I still dabble in. If and actually it happened to me. Quick example. Not too long ago, where I ended up buying a couple of 78 sets off someone. They collated the set, back in 78, 79. And, I ended up buying the set. They were beautiful. These cards were just amazing. They were very well kept. And, a lot of times you buy a set and they're kind of just beat up, whatever. I still wanted them, so I got them. And then sure enough, when I get them and I'm like, wow, these things look like they just went from the pack there and we're left. So that thrill, right, of going through that stuff is amazing, and seeing what you find, even if it's a set in this case, right, where that there's one of every card, finding them in pack fresh, centered, and just well kept is just a nice bonus. So you must get an amplified version of that though, Kurt, with your finds.
Well, that's what I, why I said that. And when I come across something like that, I usually sell it like that. I'll tell guys, look, this is where I found it. This is what I think, is the story on it. And, that's the stuff that guys like to sift through. It's, not that you can't open up a FASC wrap, 79 cello box, but to me, it's not worth it. The premium of taking off that wrap is not worth it to looking through those packs. But if you think you have a buy or something that hasn't been touched since 79, well, that's where it gets fun.
Yeah, true. So we have quite a few questions coming in now. Great, guys, keep them coming. Sean has a question for us. What's worth more, guys? 75 fast wax box or an unsealed 88 Dom? That's a close one. I would put that right up there with Alf.
The untouched territory.
Right up there with porcelain cats. Oh man. So let's see what we've got here. Kevin asks, once the country gets back to some kind of being able to go back to normal way of living, do you guys see card pricing starting to go back down? I'll chime in first on this one. I think it might settle a little. As I've said a couple times in the group, like I think some things might plateau. But going down, I just don't see anything going down at this point. And that's just not in the world of unopened. We're talking 70s in general here. So slabs, if you collect slabs, raw, I just think there might be some leveling off of these skyrocketing numbers. But I don't think anything, I can't imagine me having a conversation with someone that says, oh man, I bought this, 76, set of cards and, now they're only worth half of what I paid for them, a year ago. I think it's so small, the possibility of that. I really think that it won't happen. Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I totally agree with you. I think you're going to see, and we've seen it before to a lesser extent, of things leveling out, maybe receding 5-10% or so, staying at that level for a while. But then, as with everything, slowly starts to creep back up until the next thing happens where all of a sudden it gets super hot and all the prices start going crazy again. I don't see them going down significantly in the future. But I do see them leveling off, especially once we get back to normal and people are spending money on some other things other than cards.
Yeah. Kurt, what are your thoughts?
I've got to the point now after, what seems like 12 months of, just records and craziness, that I'm at the point now I have absolutely no idea. I don't even have an opinion. And because I'm just as blown away as anybody is. And, the hobby is incredibly popular. People are coming in like crazy. People are buying stuff. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. So it's I'm along for the ride, and I don't know.
I think it's definitely moved more mainstream, which obviously has helped as well. It's never been this out there and mainstream as it is right now. So that's
there's definitely some press out there. You're absolutely right, Mike.
Yeah. And you bring up, I mean, that's an excellent point, Kurt, because that definitely throws in a monkey wrench to, no matter how tenured you are in this, in this hobby, it really kind of throws a curveball that I don't think, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think anybody's seen what we're seeing now. And this is something we're all, to your point, maybe the real answer is we don't know. No one really knows. The base is so much bigger than any of us have ever seen. And, the money behind that and the interest behind it is so much bigger than it's ever been, that we just don't know where this is going. And that goes for everything we're talking, including today's topic with 70s, but it goes far beyond that as well. So it'll be interesting. It's going to be an interesting ride. It's everything right now is pure theory at this point. Even the experts are taking some shots in the dark on what's going to happen in the future. So that's a really good point. Josh, I'm going to try not to say fast so many times. You're absolutely right. I kind of went on a fast there before.
if I can get one more comment on that question, David, here's one other comment that just for something for people to think about. The other thing with, the prices we've seen, typically higher prices brings out more inventory to the market, people trying to cash in that have been sitting on it for years. But I'm finding that it is extremely difficult to get people to want to part with something that has even appreciated in weeks, has gained 25, 30, 35% in the last weeks. And these are guys that have held product for decades and decades and decades, and it's gained just tremendous value. And, you almost like you can't convince somebody to bring something to the market because they think it's, there's just so much upward potential to it, even though that, they've already increased it. And if people aren't willing to bring some of that stuff to the market, I mean, that just tells you that, those people think it's going higher.
Yeah. Excellent point. We'll fire off here into, let's see what we have. Oh, no, this is a pretty solid question. Might be a good segue here. Ryan asked, what's Mike and Kurt's most valuable box and pack? Notice how Ryan didn't ask mine. He's like, what's Mike and Kurt's, David? You're not even close to their level. I'm not insulted, by the way, because you're absolutely right. All right. So, Kurt, you want to fire off first on that one?
Well, we'll stick to the 70s discussion since we're talking about 70s. Wow. I got a couple with me.
Let's see those bad boys.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and we know everybody's seen my 71 Burt Blyleven rookie rack. I've showed it all the time. But I think this one I'm going to show might be the most valuable 70s item I have, and it's the 72 rack with the Fisk rookie on top. I think if all these were put in open auction, I think this one would bring the biggest amount for 70s items for myself. Mike, you got some knowledge on this. Am I wrong? Would the 71 Blyleven bring more?
I would think either that or the 73 with Schmidt, but Schmidt being on back, I think you were going to get more for the Fisk, the 72 Fisk. If that Schmidt was on top, hands down, that would be the one then for sure.
I agree with Mike 100%. Yeah, if that Schmidt was showing in front, that'd be the white whale right there. But I think you're right on the Fisk. I mean,
we don't even see in all of this run up in the last really 18 months. I'm not sure I've seen one 72 rack surface publicly in a major auction or on eBay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
72 is tough.
I don't recall seeing 72, or very rarely rather. So to have one with Fisk, that's probably going to, that would probably be the white whale. Mike, what about yourself? In the world of 70s.
If we're talking packs, I just happen to have it with me, and I know Kurt has one as well. But the 71 cello, there's, I think the pop report on this is 21 to 22 on this. By far the toughest. There you go. By far the toughest of the 70s packs. Has the lowest population report on PSA for those keeping score.
Wow.
But I have it on. I actually keep it on my phone. I have all the pop reports for the unopened on my phone. There are 21 graded 71 cellos. Only 2 are graded 9s. There are no 10s.
Mine's a 7.
Yours is a 7. Mine's a 7 as well. But when there's only 21 of them, I'm not complaining about having a 7.
Yeah. Well, these aren't exactly in that wheelhouse, but I can't believe I have so much glare. I'm sorry, guys, it's my lighting, but 72, the 72 first series. Yeah, it's first series, and the second series. Well, not as, but but these these have seen quite the jump as well. But I don't have it here to show. But on the 71s, and they're nowhere near as difficult as racks, like you guys mentioned, and cellos. But I have a 71 wax pack that I bought years ago, and I think the pop. I got to check the pops now, but last time I checked, wasn't very high either. I would say it was flirting around 30, maybe. But the 71 wax, and I'm trying to think, it's a 7. So, but that's, yeah. Nothing like what you guys are dealing with there, though. That's just like next level stuff. And that 72, especially going back to full circle of that, that is rare. That is crazy rare. That's a beautiful, beautiful rack. As a matter of fact, it's funny as you start doing these shows, you forget you have the ability to do things like this.
That's right. You zoomed in. That's perfect.
Yes. So nice, quick look at that one.
There we go. There you go, Kurt. Perfect.
Yeah, that's awesome.
There he is.
Cool.
I have one, but no, there's no fist on mine.
Here we go, Mike. I forgot about this. Oh, we'll go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I got all used to the zooming in now.
You got to go back and forth. All right.
I got Hall of Famer Tony Perez on back as well.
On that same rack.
Yep.
Nice.
That's great. Beautiful stuff, guys. All right, so let's move on here, guys. There's going to be delays on answering the questions as they're coming in. Awesome, keep them coming. But I'll get to them in order. We have a question here that came in a little bit ago from Steven Peterson. Most of the run-up this year is due to all of us 35, 50-year-olds that were in the hobby as kids and rejoined the hobby during COVID and also have a bit of disposable income. What happens in another 10 to 15 years? Will the younger generation that never collected 70s, 80s even care about vintage unopened at these prices? Excellent question. If you don't mind, I'll chime in first. I think the first thing that comes to mind, it's not necessarily an unopened, is I never saw Clemente play. I was born in 78. I never saw Babe Ruth play or Mickey Mantle play. And I know plenty of people that never saw them play that are really into those eras and those cards. And just because you're a true collector and a true baseball fan. And because of that, I think that is my take is this generation and beyond will continue to be interested in cards and decades of baseball and even other sports for that matter, simply because of the history of the sport, the love of the sport mixed in with the love of the hobby. So I don't think that age or generation will factor into our world. There might be other hobbies that might be more impacted in that, but I think in this world right here, I don't think it factors. It may be a minimal factor at worst. Mike, what's your take on it?
No, I totally agree, and I'd even take it a step further where, I'm sure your dad, Dave, has his favorite players too, that you're interested in collecting only because they were his favorite player. I know my son goes to me to the National. He knows, Tom Seaver is my favorite player. He likes Tom Seaver. He'll collect Tom Seaver. He's not an unopened collector per se, but he collects autographs. So he'll collect autographs of Seaver and other players that I rooted for as a kid and talk to him about. So I think you're going to see that connection is kind of a connection for you or the next generation to the generation before.
That's a great piece. And I'm sorry, before I get to you, Kurt, on your take on this, that's a great, I'm glad you brought that up because, give a good example. Like even though I'm a Mets fan, I'm a big, I was always a big Greg Maddux fan. And, my son who plays baseball now, he's big time. He knows all these names from the 80s from when I collected. And a lot of it turned into the father-son moments, talking about the players, talking about maybe a game I went to at Shea Stadium where Maddux, made me cry because he beat the crap out of my Mets, But, just talking about like the moments, the history. And that's what this, I say it all the time. And I know people probably tired of hearing me, but about just how this hobby connects to history and making these connections, outside of all the aesthetics and all that, the memories on it is big too. And And that piece is important. And you hit the nail on the head. I think my son, even if I stop collecting tomorrow, I think the moments that we shared talking about, the Mets from the 80s and all that, like, I think that's enough fuel, I think, to keep him going into seeing and collecting players that he never saw play. So, Kurt, I'm sorry. What's your take on this question?
Yeah, I got 2 points here. One, I think we can look back over history and we can say, whatever age bracket people are in right now, and I don't collect these, but they're widely popular. Nobody's who collects T206 cards now ever saw any of those guys play. And, tobacco era cards, Cobb, Wagner, all those guys, Walter Johnson, Mathewson, nobody was around when they were playing, and they're incredibly popular. And we mentioned the Mantles and the Mays the same way. And we've always seen those cards popular. The other thing I'll hint on is I think people, as they collect, and we know that there's young people in the modern market collecting cards. I think as you continue your collecting evolution, a lot of people always gravitate towards rarity. It's just something that people push towards. And I think that move continues, and people will realize where the rarity lies in some of these items, and are going to gravitate towards them.
That's good. That's a good point, Kurt. Sorry, I saw that comment. I know you guys are going to chuckle at that. So Greg has a question for us, and let me pop that up on the screen here for us. So he says, for your 70s investment preferences, is it wax, racks, or cellos? Ooh, now if you're talking about like collecting, or you're saying investment, so oh man, I don't know from that angle. That's maybe Kurt, you want to chime in on this one?
I'll say, again, a couple things. My first comment, I know Mike C has heard this before, as everybody else is. I am not spending my investment dollars on baseball cards. I'm just not going to. I love the hobby. I'll continue to buy, but I am not investing in cardboard. It's not going to happen. Now, with that being said, what do I think? Items that, may hold the greatest value down the road or may appreciate. I always look towards, two things like I almost just mentioned, popularity and rarity. So what's popular in the 70s? We've already talked about it. 75 Topps is popular. We already talked about what's rare. 71 cellos are rare. So I think if I want to, state just a couple broad terms, 75 star racks, 75 star cellos, assuming that they're legit, sequenced and proper, and then rare items, 71 cello packs. But I do not put my collecting or my investing dollars in cardboard.
I think that's kind of why I hit the brakes too. Look, we all understand there's a financial element to the hobby. I think none of us can ignore that piece. I'll never sit here and say that. We all know it, but I don't know if I've, when I look at it, it's tough to say. I don't think I've ever been in a situation, let me rephrase this, where I've said, oh, I'm going to get the cello over the wax because, it's going to be worth more. If I like it, I'm going to buy it, and if it organically has more value later, okay. I mean, it's a piece to the hobby that we all know is there, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, I don't know, like if there's I don't necessarily have a preference. I think my preference will always be number one, collecting base. My preference is definitely cellos, as a lot of you guys know. It's just, I just love the look of them, and makes it a lot easier on my eyes. It's when I try to look for star power versus wax packs. So, Mike, what's your take on this question?
If I read that literally, and it's saying 70s investment preferences, is it wax, racks, and cellos? I take it, if I was to invest in one of those items, and like Kurt, I don't invest in anything. I max out my 401k before I spend a penny on any of my unopened stuff. But from an investment standpoint, if I was to invest, I would probably say cellos would be my choice, only because those you can have graded by PSA, which obviously adds to the value of them. And I like to look at the cards. I like to see the cards. I think cellos are, for the most part, for most years, are more rare than the wax component. Depending on the years, there's certain years that maybe there's more cellos than wax, but 75 is a good example of that. 75, you'd be able to find more cellos than wax. But overall, as a product goes, I would probably, for investment purposes, I'd say cellos. Now, personally, I don't buy cellos first. My preference has always been racks. I love rack packs. That's my favorite product. So even if I think cellos are worth more or would be a better investment per se, investment, I'm going to buy the racks and collect the racks because that's what I like. That's what I enjoy. I started collecting racks, heavily into racks, but I do have cellos. I do have wax boxes as well. But racks is definitely my favorite, just because of the ability to see the cards. You've got multiple cards that you're able to see, both front and back. Cello, you're only able to see 2 cards. Obviously, wax, you're going more into the package, the wrapper, the design of the wrapper, and that type of thing, which a lot of people are drawn to that too and collect wax for that reason, because they like the designs of the wrappers as opposed to collecting cellos or racks. So everybody kind of has their own take on it. But my personal preference is racks. But from an investment standpoint, I'd say cellos.
Yeah. Josh has all his money in GameStop. Good luck with that, Josh.
Yeah. Good job, Josh.
Oh man. So let's move on here to the next one. And guys, again, I see the comments coming in. Don't think there's a delay there. We're just getting some really good stuff here. So we're kind of trying to go in order and get to everyone's questions. So we have one from Adam. Thanks for the great show. I'm enjoying it. Thanks for joining in. I appreciate that. And do you think there will be competition for PSA and BBCE since the demand and delay is so high? I've read recently about new companies happening soon. So let's start with you, Kurt, on that. I'll chime in later.
Yeah, you remember, David, we touched on this with Minson and you and me. Do I think there'll be competition? It's just a free market. People think there's, can come into a market, we're going to see it. I will just say this, though, when people are buying graded packs, and when you're looking at getting the unopened hobby, really the only thing that or maybe not the only thing, but for 95% of unopened collectors, the only thing that matters is authenticity. So unless you have a pack authenticator or another, loose authenticator that has any credibility authenticating stuff, to me, it doesn't matter. If X, Y, and Z grading company opens up in, Cleveland, Ohio, well, who's their pack authenticator? So yeah, is there going to be competition? There is, but until competition opens up with a credible authenticator, I don't think it makes a difference, because all I care about when I buy a graded pack, I don't care about if it's a 7, an 8, or a 9. I want the pack to be authentic. And if I buy a PSA pack, I know Steve Hart's looked at it, and I'm confident it's good. So that's what sells. So I think there's got to be a distinction, especially if we got new people entering the hobby. The distinction has to be made on authenticity. It's not, oh, here's a graded pack. So I would put some caution in there. There could certainly, I think the marketplace would certainly warrant competition from a credible authenticator. I just think that's, to be determined if we'll see that.
Yeah, that's some excellent feedback. And I remember that we had a great conversation, to your point, from, from the last show. I think, as a collector, and Mike, I'm very curious to hear your take on this as well, is, reputation, and tenure, which I think is almost one and the same in this hobby, reign supreme, right? A consistent level of being able to trust the person as a legitimate source, right? As a legitimate set of eyes and ears, authenticating the product and earning that reputation is key. And that does not come overnight. I could tell you right now, if some company started tomorrow and said, hey, we have the state of the art machinery, this wrap is better than the wrap you're used to, it's like you're talking another language to me, because that is so irrelevant. What's irrelevant is, all right, who's checking my box? And it's, even if it's a name I don't know, if I start checking around with, let's say, you guys, and you tell me, oh yeah, he's been around for 40 plus years, he's a good egg, that's a trusted source. All right, there's a little peace of mind. I might start with dribs and drabs, with some kind of work my way up in value. But the point is, like, you don't just come into this and expect, to earn the trust, in something that's so important to our hobby, like authentication. So, Mike, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I agree. There's the market is there, but it's just a matter of, it's got to be the right person, with the right background. I know maybe the person that posed the question might have been referring to the, I guess it's the comic book graders that are opening up and getting into grading, cards, and they may, who knows, move into unopened at a certain point as well. But it really comes down to, well, who's grading the cards, who's grading the packs, who's their authenticators, what experience do they have? Did they come from PSA? Maybe they hired them away. Okay, that's good experience. That might be somebody that I may be able to trust and purchase their authentication services. But if it's somebody you don't know, well, until enough of them get graded and they're able to build that reputation, it's going to take a lot of time to do that. So it makes it very hard for companies to come into the marketplace. You really need to have, an authenticator that's really known to the hobby to come on board. Even if he's the one that's training the other authenticators at the company, you need that person to be there. So I think it can be done, but it's just going to be it's very, very hard. It's not just, I'm going to put up a sign and say, hey, CPA Mike authentications, and, I'm going to go to business and people are going to start sending me their packs. You need to have the reputation out there, that people know that you've been doing this for a long, long time.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the other piece that, just to add one little piece there to the end is I think the element of apprenticeship is probably a good approach for any current, authenticators in the market, and Kurt, yourself included. You have a great service right now, but I think if there's ever that passing of the torch where you say, okay, I'm done with this, I think the only way that torch can be effectively passed is with that element of apprenticeship. You have to have somebody that you had with you alongside you for a long time, that's been working it with you, that's kind of been eased into the role, and you almost kind of swing it little by little over, you phase it in. Not this fly by night. If tomorrow it's like, oh, new guy, and just give him the keys to the car, because that won't work either. Again, my 2 cents, maybe I'm complicated, but I feel like that's probably the best approach to this is it's experience and making sure that everyone knows who's looking at this very valuable and important material. Because I think I speak for all of us. We don't want to get hosed with our 70s material and others for that matter. So,
well, yeah, I mean, we've all been there.
Yeah.
I think the distinction has to be made too. I think it's different, and there's a different set of skills needed to, and maybe more down by the book skills can be used to grading cards and cardboard. And it's, you can have a whole checklist of items to help detect a fake 86 Fleer Michael Jordan or a fake 33 Gaudy, Babe Ruth. Where when it comes to detecting a resealed 86 Fleer basketball pack, or, you name it, there's not so much written down in a book how to do that as much as, like we've all reiterated, years of looking at it and, little you pick up on science here or there. So it's, much more difficult for a company to just throw somebody in that and here's your book, go read this and go, authenticate, packs.
Yeah.
Might work easier with cards. I don't
Mhm.
think it works quite so much with unopened, especially with some of the degree of, I would just say, well quality resealed products that are out there.
Excellent point. That's a really good point. So moving on here, guys. Let's see. Yeah, I think Josh did have a question here. What I like about 70s is the last cards of the greats from the 50s and early 60s. Thoughts? I would just simply agree with that. I think I kind of alluded to it earlier about 78 and 75 being, 75 especially. You had the second to last year of Hank Aaron. You had some great players, but yeah, I think 70s. The last years of Clemente.
Ernie Banks in 71.
Yeah, there's some phenomenal, Willie Mays. You just had the list goes on and on and on of these phenomenal players that kind of seep their way into the early, mid, and even late 70s that make that era to me even more desirable. So, Mike, what's your take on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with that. I mean, I think of, especially it seems like a lot of the late 70s sets. There were a lot of guys at the tail ends of their careers, and you saw these guys and they, even though they were probably in their mid 30s, they looked a lot older back then. But yeah, I mean,
They sure did.
yeah, and if you look back even at the 50s and 60s cards, some of these guys that are like 30 years old, they look like they're 50. It's just just amazing. I know I got a little on a tangent there, but just the kind of an weird observation that I've noticed over the years. But yeah, no, I think of like the Yastrzemski, the 79 Carl Yastrzemski card. Seeing him, he looks like I'm at he's at the end of his career. The Willie Mays, and actually it's funny because the Willie Mays, you got the 73 Willie Mays, which is his last regular card, but he is in a 74 set because of the because they making it to the World Series with the Mets, that he's in one of the cards. I think it's a World Series card, but I'm not 100% positive.
Right.
But yeah,
you're right. I was thinking about like Gaylord Perry, and you looking like it's like 65, and he's still Phil Niekro. I'm sorry,
Phil Niekro. Yeah. Well, they both looked about the same.
Yeah, Phil Niekro looked like he was my grandfather going on the mound there in the 80s because I was already getting into baseball, and he was still playing. In 80, oh my God, 87. Yeah, I think, 80, I was trying to say it's 86, 87 when he was still out there throwing knuckleballs. But I was like, it looks like my granddad throwing a pitch out there. But anyway, yeah, it's not to get off a tangent, but you made me laugh with that comment. Let's see here. Did you want to chime in on that one too before we move on there, Kurt? Or
yeah, I mean, I'm going to agree with everybody here. We all love all those stars we grew up with, collecting the top sets, from the 50s. So we saw in the early 60s all those guys, as young rookies, the iconic cards, and it's just the culmination of their careers. And I mentioned that right away when he asked about some of my favorite sets. You can pick a set and that's their last card.
Yeah, good point. All right, so let's move on here to the next question. We have Chris. Is there an undervalued 70 set, and I guess also overvalued? Wow. Undervalued. If you would have asked me this question, Chris, about 12 months ago, I would have said the ones I collect, 78s. Just because of all the star power that I mentioned earlier on in this segment. I think relative to that, it was one of those sets in the whole decade that was just loaded with rookies, right? I don't think I'd say that anymore. So I don't even know if I can pinpoint an undervalued set these days. Maybe the other guys might have a different opinion. And I conversely say overvalued. This day and age, I don't think anything's overvalued. I think, what people are willing to pay, they're willing to pay, right, for the product. So And I think it's all relative to scarcity. So in the world of unopened, definitely there's nothing overvalued, because as population diminishes and the base continues to increase on top of that, then it gets that much harder to find some of those products that you want. Ask Mike, who's been doing this forever, and he probably would echo those same words. You know, from a set building and slab standpoint, I think maybe there's some asterisks to the overvalued question, but again, I'd say no. I think everything is trending in that direction, because, you know, 70's was just not produced anywhere near as 80's as much as 80's product, and of course it's going to have a much higher value as a result of it, and everything we just mentioned just before, the Hall of Fame element, the rookies element, all that too plays into it. So, Mike, what's your take on that?
The one set that came to mind when I thought undervalued out of the 70's is just because a lot of people don't tend to gravitate towards it. And I think it's probably it's a really nice set, I think, is the 1970 set, the first set of the decade. I think maybe if I was to pick one that I thought was undervalued, that would maybe be the set that I would pick. I don't think anything is overvalued as far as the sets go, you know, in the 70's. I really can't see anything. I mean, they're really valued where people want them. You know, 71 is obviously a very condition sensitive set, you know, with the black borders. So its value is higher, but it's because of the condition sensitivity of the card. So it bears out why it's valued higher. So I don't think that set's overvalued, just like any of the other sets. Even 75, I know it's very popular, but it's not over. I don't think it's overvalued. I just think it's more popular, so more people are collecting it. So that'll drive the prices up for that set. Maybe 74 or 76, the sets are around that year. You know, that's really my thought on that. As far as if I was talking on open, though, I might have a different answer for the question. If I was talking on open, I think 74 is a very undervalued year for Topps baseball. So that would be my answer. Overvalued, again, I would probably move towards 78 and 79, only because I remember buying them dirt cheap. So, and now the prices the way they are now kind of gives me a little sticker shock. So maybe I would consider those overvalued as far as unopened goes. So that's kind of my thoughts on that from both set side and unopened side.
Yeah, excellent. And Kurt, what's your take?
I'll be quick with the overvalue. Yeah, at this point, nothing's overvalued. I think we've clearly established that point. Undervalued, though, I think across the board, I think the O-Pee-Chee sets are incredibly undervalued. I mean, I'll just say it again: 54 total Dave Winfields. 54. Yeah. Now, there's got to be more that aren't graded, but how many 74 top sets are there out there? You know, there's thousands. Boy, you want to put a 74 O-Pee-Chee set together, well, it might be difficult.
Yeah.
So
no, that's an excellent point. I didn't even think about the variations, but you're spot on. O-Pee-Chee. Yeah.
This number is just mind-boggling. Only 54 Dave Winfields.
Yeah.
That's just.
Yeah, and I'll bet you, because it's almost like a little weekend homework for me now that we're talking about it. But I'm gonna look at some of these other O-Pee-Chee because obviously 74 is one of the tougher ones, like I alluded to earlier. But God, I think we can pick any year and probably see, like, if you were to just do take a comparison of the Topps O-Pee-Chee, Fisk, I don't know, Fisk has an O-Pee-Chee, right? Or let's just say the comparables, let's see, Ozzie Smith, and you're gonna see, pop reports like it's gonna be a tremendously different number, and then you look at the value of it too, which is a whole other element to it. But I'm not, but the scarcity is is really, really, really low on O-Pee-Chee. So I think that, to your point, is probably undervalued big time. Yeah. All right. So let's see what we have here next. Let's see. Okay, we have a question here from Ryan. Okay. So he says, hey guys, what makes a 78 unopened baseball box worth more than a 78 football box? Seems like I see baseball all the time, but rarely see football in the market. Ryan, I'll chime in real fast on this one. It kind of just segues to what I was just talking about. Sometimes the element of scarcity doesn't mean the value will go up. It's all about scarcity relative to the base of how many people are collecting it. So if, simply put, if there's not enough 70s football fans out there, that drives the price up or down, I think. So football is tough product, just like O-Pee-Chee, as we were alluding to earlier, is a difficult product. But if there's not enough people collecting O-Pee-Chee, then the price will move according to the base. So, Mike, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that point. And also, just looking at, if I was to take it just from 1978, there's not a lot of rookies in the 1978 football set that, pop to my mind, but 78 baseball, as you have a lot of rookies or second year cards in that set, that's going to drive the popularity and the value of it as well. Yeah. 76 football, the value is higher and more comparable maybe to baseball because of everybody trying to get the Walter Payton card in that year. So it is dependent on also who's in the set. But overall, I've always seen it, and realistically, the difference between football and baseball has really shrunk over the years. It used to be a lot more of a difference that you would see between baseball and football, for any of it, and also for the other sports too, basketball, hockey.
I was going to say even more so to basketball and hockey, Mike. It was crazy how cheap hockey was for such a long time, and basketball, and obviously take the last 2 years out of the equation, but oh my God, it was cheap, very cheap.
Yes, yeah, and basketball, one set that one box, unopened box that I always thought was very undervalued at the time was the 1980 basketball with the Bird Magic rookie card.
Yeah,
I think it was a 2013 National. Steve Hart was Baseball Card Exchange was selling a box for $3,300.
Oh man!
And I remember seeing that box and saying to myself, I'm a baseball collector. I'm staying in my lane. I recognized that was a good price, and I was like, maybe I should just buy it. I think it's a good deal. I think there's, it's definitely a good collectible to have as far as basketball. I didn't end up pulling the trigger. Instead, I bought a 77 rack box instead. Baseball.
You settled for a 77 rack box?
Yeah, I settled for a 77 rack box instead. But looking back now, I think I just got I think it might have been Heritage. One of the auction houses has the basketball box in it, and they're estimating 20K plus for that box. So in the course of 8 years, that's gone from a $3,000 box to a 20K plus box. So, it definitely, things have grown and gone up, and those boxes, especially basketball, really, it's to certain years have really bypassed baseball based on the popularity, not only here, but internationally as well.
Yeah. Kurt, you're getting called out for looking sleepy. That's funny.
I was going to take that question kind of where you guys just did. I won't talk about the first part. The first part is obviously, it's economics. The demand of the collector base drives the price. But I would go out and say, and this is just my own personal opinion, we just said we've seen that gap shrink. I would say if you're trying to predict what will happen down the road, I see more popularity continuing for football, basketball releases, and maybe less popularity for baseball. We could see potentially that gap come together or disappear. We know that those products are harder to find for some of those years than the baseball counterparts, but you know, especially internationally with basketball, the amount of fanfare that gets internationally, it's just a thought, but I think we're going to continue to see that shrink and the popularity pushing prices of the other sports higher. And Mike, I actually think the 80 basketball box of Heritage is higher. I think I looked and it's up to 36,000.
Oh, I just looked at the circular they give you. Then they have like the estimated price was 20K plus. I haven't been following it, so that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think it's at 36,000, and then probably plus the juice.
Yeah, look, I think you were talking about what the 80s tops.
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. Tyler just chimed in on that.
There you go. Okay, so it was Heritage. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not shocked given what that Bird rookie card, the Bird Magic rookie card is going for now. That's a pretty pricey card. So let me backpedal up here to try to keep in order. We had a question up here that was quite interesting, and let's see what this one says here. Kevin, now that MLB is going to include the stats from the Negro League, do you guys have any of those cards? And are there any of those cards out there? That's a very good question. I honestly, I know there are. I don't have particulars on it. I don't know if you guys do. I'm not kind of prepared to answer that one right now, but I'm not.
The first thing that comes to my mind is, David, you and me talked about exhibits before. I know there's some actual paged exhibit cards.
Yeah.
And there are, I think, a few others in the exhibit set.
Yeah. I'm not. I'd have to definitely dive into that. I'll that's a good future topic, by the way. So thanks, Kevin, for that. I'll chalk that one down. Let's see what else we've got here, guys.
Don't put up the one from John Barnes.
What is the hardest set to collect from the 70s? I think we kind of alluded to that one before. I think hardest, if we're talking about condition, would probably be 71, right? Yeah. I think we're unanimous on that one. Let's see.
As far as tops goes, anyway.
Oh yeah, you know what? If you want to add the element of O-Pee-Chee in there, what would you pick, Mike? 79.
74 might 74, be.
Yeah,
that's what Tom says. He's the O-Pee-Chee guy.
Tom knows, and I've heard that too. I've heard that from other people that 74 is a tough year for O-Pee-Chee.
Yeah. This is just comment here. To that point, it seems a disproportionate percentage of the unopened industry is dependent on Steve Hart. I wonder how the hobby will react when he calls it quits. That's a great point, Greg. It'll be interesting to see. It'll definitely be something that'll load up the forums, the groups, and a lot of opinions will be had, and it'll be interesting to see how things shift. You guys want to chime in on that, or I'll move on here? All right. What do you guys think? Let's see here. What do you guys think happened to the packs that have been authenticated, but years later we have determined that the packs are bad from the sequencing? Good question. That's a loaded one. Well, I don't know what the internal the protocol is at at any of these authenticators. If you kind of call that out, do they remove it or what? I mean, Mike, do you have any insight on that? Or
I mean, my thought on that is, and it's been brought up for years now, it probably should have been done years ago when the prices were a lot lower, and they could have probably bought a majority of the packs out of circulation that were determined later, based off knowledge and everything else, knowing that those packs were bad based off sourcing and things like that as well.
Yeah.
It would have been a lot easier for them to have bought those back. At this point now, it's just, they're out there, the hardcore collectors know which packs are the ones that aren't, even if they're in a holder. And this comes back to Kurt's point earlier, is, you have to look at the pack and make your own determination too, as far as, do you think that the pack is good? Even, somebody's opinion is just that. It's still just an opinion. And depending on when that opinion was rendered, things may have changed, facts may have changed. We may have a different opinion of that pack. So, and you'll see sometimes the price reflected in certain packs where you're saying, well, why didn't that pack go higher? Well, less demand for it because people that know which packs are maybe not good, even though they are authenticated packs, will drive down the price because you have less bidders on it. So the price isn't going to go up quite as high as what one would expect. So,
yeah. This is just a follow-up to what we were talking about earlier. David was asking the why 74 Peachy. David, the long and short is scarcity. It's just there's very, very, very little product out there. We kind of alluded to it earlier on in the episode, but ultimately 74 is just extremely difficult to find, which ultimately makes it extremely difficult, to put a set together and to find unopened packs and boxes, etc. So I don't know what the actual runs were at the factory, but just in our world, in our generation, I mean, guys like Kurt and Tom Salem, Steve Hart, if you ask them all in terms of 70s O-Pee-Chee, I think everybody will kind of raise their hand and say 74 is probably the toughest. Another very difficult set outside of this topic for today is the 67 series. Tom alluded to that in my O-Pee-Chee interview with him. Is a very, very hard O-Pee-Chee product to find as well. So conversely, 72, not that there's a ton of it, but that's a much easier one to find in comparison to a 74. So let me get back up here and make sure I try to keep in order here. I promised you guys I'd get every question in. Thanks for bringing those in. Josh had a question for us. Who is the most popular player of the 70s in the card world, non-rookie? Seaver, Ryan, Reggie, or Rose? If we're picking just from those four players, you got two guys here that are pretty much instant answer on Seaver right here. So you might get a more unbiased answer from Kurt.
Well, I mean, to me, that answer is easy, and I'll say the answer first. When you look at sales price, it's without a doubt Nolan Ryan.
Oh, stop. No, I'm kidding.
Now I'm going to say, because Josh knows me, and I talk about this in my breaks, I actually think Nolan Ryan is vastly overrated. However, there is absolutely no doubt when you look at pack sales or card sales, it's Nolan Ryan. He commands the most money, and
you're absolutely right. I can't argue that. I mean, I'm always going to say Seaver because I love Seaver, and Tom loves him even more. I'm sorry, oh my God, I said Tom, and Mike loves him even more. But it's I think in our world of hobby and in the aspect that with respect to what we're talking about in this show, I don't think anybody could argue Nolan Ryan.
I think Nolan Ryan. I was going to say, I think Nolan Ryan is like the equivalent of the Mickey Mantle from the 50s and the 60s. Like he's the guy for whatever the reason is.
Yeah.
People gravitate towards Nolan Ryan. So
yeah. And that's a hell of a feat considering that pitchers typically in the world of in the hobby world, they have it a lot harder than hitters, to kind of become that ultimate popular player and be a pitcher. It's pretty tough. So, but he is undoubtedly that player that everybody collects, builds master sets unopened. You're looking for that. If you're not getting a rookie, you kind of look whatever issue you're looking at to the cellos. Oh, if I get one with X rookie from that year, but the consolation prize on anything on any set is the Nolan Ryan for sure. All right, so let me move on here to the next question. We have John, and he says, what was the one pack or box you bought that you thought, man, this is going to be a prize, and it turned out to be a bust? 88, and then you can fill in the blank. But for it could be anything. But no, for the intents and purposes of this show, for the 70s, oh man, God, I don't know if there's an answer to that for 70s.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, we've already said nothing is undervalued. But for me, I think the one year that continues to just maybe be the least popular, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I think that's 1976 tops. When you look at price appreciation and some stuff, I've always thought that should be worth a little more, but it just doesn't seem like there's as much interest in that. And I base some of that off of like when we're set up at the National and stuff. I just don't get much interest in about anything for 76 tops. So I guess if I had to, try to pinpoint an answer to that question, that would be where my answer would be.
Yeah. This is this is an interesting one from Brandon. This is I guess for my he doesn't. That's not a stash. It's just the lighting. He has a goatee. It's coming out like a stash, I guess. Oh man, look, that's funny. All right, here we go. What do we have? Let's see. And guys, thanks for the questions. This has been great so far. It's been a lot of fun answering these questions with Mike and Kurt. And well, I mean, this is kind of a sub question here. And we kind of answered that already. Yeah, theoretically, every year OPC is harder than tops. It doesn't, if you compare apples to apples, 72. So every year you could say that the scarcer products OPC until you probably get to like, well, I think pretty much every year. I was gonna say like 93, maybe not, but it's always to me the scarcer product.
Talking tops, if you're just talking tough year OPC overall, 78 and 79 are probably a lot more plentiful than the other years from the 70s for sure.
Yeah. It's Dave's alluding to our previous question about most popular player in the 70s. So David, because the topic today is just a decade of the 70s, I think that's probably why Josh left Clemente out of it. But if you were going to talk 60s, and it's not because I love Clemente, I think anybody, if you don't put Clemente's name in that Mount Rushmore in the 60s, he's definitely in that list in my opinion. Just pop between just how great he was and popularity and all that. But I know he won a World Series and everything in the end of his career, but from a decade perspective, I think those names that Josh picked are actually pretty good ones.
I agree.
Okay, so Josh, how much did it hurt Kurt to say Nolan Ryan?
I have no problem speaking the truth, and I spoke two truths. His cardboard and his cards, they lead the way, and he's also very overrated. They can be the one and the same.
Yeah. That, and it's still tough to say that, but I admire your honesty.
And you know what? Just like you said, David, when if I get a cello box or I'm looking at a show and I can't find that, 77 Dawson cello, well, the next one I want is, a Nolan Ryan on back.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. Even though I think he's overrated, that's the card I want showing.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, we got a couple more here. Just came in. This one's kind of just about the show itself. Dan, so how often is the show going to run? I haven't really put an official like cadence to it yet, but if all goes well and time allows, I'm definitely going to alternate Hobby News Live, this format, with Hobby Talk Live, which that I can answer now. Hobby Talk Live is going to actually air next week. And that's, if you haven't seen it before, that's the show with, where we just kind of have some drinks, we open up some cards, we have some good laughs, answer some, kind of off the wall questions. That's going to alternate with this show. So this one, realistically speaking, would probably be middle of the month. So like maybe let's call it the next 2 to 3 weeks. But in my group and in Vintage Wax and Packs, I do put like alerts out there, just kind of letting everybody know, hey guys, the next episode is going to be next week or in a couple days. I try to give as much notice as possible. And outside of any like, holidays or something wacky, I'm really aiming for Friday nights. I think it's a good night to do it. It works for most of my guests as well. Try to work around your rip nights too, Kurt, which are Thursdays and Sundays, right? If my memory serves me well. So, but yeah, that's that Friday nights, and let's see, probably like every two weeks or so. So, let's move on here to the next question. And guys, how are you guys? I should have asked you this. You guys still good on time? We got a couple more questions in here.
I'm good.
I'm okay.
Okay. All right, good. So what card pack box do you regret selling and wish you could get it back? Oh God. I'm going to let the veteran collectors here chime in first on that. Mike, you want to answer that one?
Well, the first one that popped in my head was a 1976 cello box that I sold. Yeah. But at the time, I got a very strong price for that box because as Kurt already said, 76 is a very underappreciated unopened product, but it is a very, very tough one to get. So you can, to the right collector that knows that, you could get a very good price for it. So I sold that probably about 7 years ago or so and regretted selling it almost probably about a year later. I probably regretted selling it. But I did get a good price for it. At the time, it was a very strong price. So, yeah. But I wish if I could get it back, I would love to have it back. I only have one left now. I'd like to have two. So.
Yeah. Before Kurt, before you answer that, I'll say that there's another element that makes the world of unopened that much more challenging, guys. And that's the fact that, like, we're talking about pop reports before, and I've mentioned this in previous episodes, when you're talking about a slab, you can rely, to a certain degree there's elements, margin of error there too, but that's a whole other topic. But the population on an open is really difficult to gauge. On slabs from PSA, but even on the boxes, it's really hard to understand. So sometimes we might say, in my case, a lot of times when I sell something, it's usually to put together funds for something else that's, sparked my interest, or just the opportunity came to buy something that's near and dear to me and I want to get it. So I'm like, all right, let me move some stuff. And then I might come back to your point a little bit later and say, oh my God, why did I missed that box? And I don't necessarily regret it. I don't think I have very few regrets in the world of the hobby. I think it's more like I miss it. And in that case, I might come back and say, man, I really miss, having that item. So, I can't think of one right now that for this episode that I could say that I miss. I do have, some stuff from other eras that I miss. But yeah, there's, that 76, that's gotta hurt now, considering how scarce that is. Kurt, I'll let you chime in now. What's your answer to that question?
I've told you this before, David, but I'm the same way. This is not a regret. Usually we have reasons why we sell something. But I can almost say with anything I sell, you almost miss it all. But if we're going to stick to 70s, and again, this is not a regret. I'm completely fine with what I did. There was reasons behind it, but I sold a 71 baseball wax box, and of course, if I wish I'd had one back, that's of course one you'd wish you had back, but I don't have a particular regret for selling it. But when you sell good items, and we're all collectors, we miss them, and we want them all back. We just can't, that's just how it works. But to your point, what a lot of people may not see is, what did we buy because we sold that?
Yeah.
That's the key item.
Yep. Yeah, I was just talking, I think, to Mike about that the other day, about a certain thing I sold, but it was to get something I wanted even more, so it's it makes it that much sweeter. So
speaking of Bombo, David, Bombo, you remember that 78 cello Bombo pack I bought from you?
Yeah. That's right. I think I have another one. Actually, the Bombo Rivera. All right. What was let's see. Let's get this question up. All right, answered that one already. Here we go. What was the 70s the last decade players smoked cigs in the dugout? I don't know. I think that seeped into the I say mid 80s, right? Mike was about when it stopped.
I can picture Keith Hernandez in '86 puffing on some cigarettes in the Mets dugout.
Yes, in the World Series, I remember that as a kid.
He was a chain smoker. That guy. I always saw him with a cigarette puffing in the dugout before he went out there.
Yeah, that's funny. Oh man, Josh, if Kurt thinks that Kirby Puckett is better than Clemente, then this might be the last time Kurt's on Hobby Talk. No, I'm just kidding. We have to have a little talking offline.
we had this discussion last night, David. It was asked me, we were talking about some of this stuff. Who is better? Somebody asked, is Puckett or Clemente better? And I did say that I would pick Clemente, but something you got to remember about Puckett is he lost 5, 6, 7 years of his career due to glaucoma, and of course, Clemente lost a couple years too. Yeah. But Puckett's stats he was phenomenal. I'm not saying he's quite to the level of Clemente, but he's got numerous Gold Gloves. Batting. He was really good, and his numbers. If you just look at his numbers without context, you're missing the fact that he had to retire due to injury.
Yeah, no, that you're all joking aside, he was a phenomenal player. I think there's a couple pieces to it, when you talk about him and a couple other players. That would make a great topic, by the way, for a future episode. But quick sample now is you look at the element of the steroid era that was kicking in that takes away from some of the non-steroid players and their achievements. That was alive and well in the mid 80s already with the Cansecos and Maguires and the world. And you look at that piece and that factors in, but also sometimes certain players might get a little foreshadowed because they might have been like number 2 in the voting, right, of an MVP. So when you look back and he's like, oh, he only won the MVP twice. Oh, okay, because at that time Canseco was doing, I don't know if he won the MVP, but you look at, I'm just kind of throwing examples like how many bases Ricky Henderson was stealing during those years, or the 40-40 club with Canseco, or the amazing batting average that Tony Gwynn had, a couple of years. It's these pieces that take away sometimes from these other players that were just doing it consistently for a long time. But no question, man, Puckett's amazing. And you just gave me a great topic for a future episode, because there's players that I think of that get overlooked even for Hall of Fame that which I'm penciling that one in for a really good topic for the future. So, but not to get off the rails here, we'll get back here on this. I saw this, Omar Cornelius, hi from Australia. Hey man, that is awesome. Like seriously, that is really from around the globe, man. That is very cool. Thanks for joining in, man. We really appreciate that. I have a question here. It came up as Facebook user. If somebody wants to tell us who it was, that's great. But Kurt, and this is perfect. I know we were talking pretty much 90% baseball, but no problem with let's get into non-sports a little bit. About 70s non-sports, what's your dream box, Kurt?
This is an easy answer. It is Series 1, 1977, O-Pee-Chee Star Wars.
That is not
easy. Tops. I got the tops. I want that O-Pee-Chee Star Wars.
Yeah, that is really hard to find. Yeah. How about you, Mike? Yeah, I know it's just for Kurt, but you're not a non-sports guy, right?
More for Kurt. Non-sport. It would be a pretty good stretch. I would say probably the Star Wars would be, even O-Pee-Chee or Tops. I did collect those sets as a kid, so I definitely remember, picking the Star Wars cards, the blue bordered ones, when they first came out, and then they changed to, was it red for Empire Strikes Back and then green for Return of the Jedi?
Yeah.
But I remember collecting the blue for sure. I still have them someplace in one of my boxes behind me.
So, quick thought about that Series 1 O-Pee-Chee box. This maybe 3-4 years ago, Tom Salem was talking to me, and maybe Tom's watching, but he'll probably remember this. He was up in Canada doing some buying, and he had a lead on a Series 1 O-Pee-Chee Star Wars box. And we had talked ahead of time, and Tom asked me what I wanted to pay for one. And I pretty much told him whatever. And we had a price in mind, and Tom said, well, I think I can get you the box for that price. And when Tom got eyes on it, he just said that the condition of the packs, etc., he says you wouldn't be happy with. So that, it just didn't happen. But that would be one that I would love to get. And no, the goldenrod is not in the so
that's the 80s, isn't it?
I don't know if John Barnes is watching here, but he's definitely Barnes is looking for the goldenrod case.
Yeah, Series 4. That's Series 4. Everybody knows that.
O-Pee-Chee only had Series 1, 2, and 3 for 77 Star Wars. They did not make Series 4 and 5.
There's no Canadian rod.
Well, we don't know, but if anybody knows, it's John Barnes.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. All right, so I won't chime into 70s non-sports because I barely dabble in that. I have a Fask Indiana Jones box from 79. There
you go.
There you go. And some skateboard boxes that I got from Kurt. Anyway, I digress. So David has a question for us. Any baseball cards showing with players smoking? I can't think of any. Can you guys? I don't
think there is.
I'll bet you there probably is a player or two. I don't recall. Yeah, PSA set registry, best baseball cards of players smoking. I'll bet you there's a couple of cards. I just don't recall now if there are any. And Dave Sleeper has a very important question to Mike. Is Mike going to do a giveaway from that wall of awesome?
No. That would be a hard no.
That was a nervous laugh there, Mike. I don't blame you.
The 84 Fleer.
It's definitely not the 84 Fleer.
I see an 88 Donruss there. Maybe you can part ways with that.
I have a 90. I have a couple of 90 boxes on the floor here. 90 Donruss.
They didn't even make the wall of awesome. They made the floor of awesome.
No, they ended up on the floor. I had to make room for some more awesomeness in the wall.
Yeah, I would definitely put 90 Donruss in the corner.
It was on the wall at one point, though.
Oh my God!
Tucked away in a corner.
So, Josh, yeah, that 78 Donruss Elvis set is quite popular too, Josh. That's a good point.
Also, Kiss. That would probably be the set. If I was now thinking the Kiss, I remember collecting that as a kid too. I like that. Yeah, and I think it was Don Ross, right? Don Ross released the Kiss.
Yes, it was.
I am pretty sure.
To it.
I believe you were part of the Army from 85 to 2002, right, Mike?
No, I was already in college by then. I don't think I was in the Army.
The Kiss Army.
Not in the Kiss Army. No, I outgrew the Kiss Army by then.
Oh, man. All right, here we go. Oh, wait, everybody's chiming in about the goldenrod. Is there an O-Pee-Chee version of the goldenrod? I don't think so.
Not to my knowledge.
How sad is Kurt that there isn't an O-Pee-Chee goldenrod?
Not as sad as John Barnes.
Oh, man. All right, what's up, Scott? Thanks for joining in. Looking here to see if there's any other questions. If you guys have them, we'll do a last call here for some questions. Mark, I've been drinking every time someone says fast and I'm dead. Yep. That's the show. That's the show today. We'll wait until we get into a Hall of Fame topic. How many times we're going to say that? Jason's asking you to open something up, but we know that's not going to happen unless it's that 90 Donruss on the floor.
I already opened that 75 pack that I opened on
I was still in shock, and thank you for I can't imagine how many times you've opened a pack like that live or on camera. So that was pretty cool.
Peru was in it, wasn't he?
Joe Morgan.
Yeah.
Oh, you had two. Yeah, you had two solid cards in there.
Yeah, Yep. I think I still have the pack sitting over on the side here. I still haven't done anything with it other than put it back in the wrapper and just put it off to the side.
Let's see what we got here. Is the best card of 70s the 72 Billy Martin with him flipping the bird?
Yes.
I don't know if we could argue with that one.
Yes.
Oh, man. That's some good comments coming up with me. Oh, great stuff here. All right. So, yeah, some other comments. The non-sports. And, guys, you know what? I know non-sports is a very popular topic. We're going to definitely do an episode dedicated to non-sports down the road. And Kurt, not to fill up your schedule, but I get the feeling that you would be a wonderful repeat guest for that episode as well. So, oh, man. Oh, where's your? Oh, that's easy. So Daniel, hey, what's up, Daniel? Daniel's referring to my little sidekick during Hobby Talk Live, my Steeler dog. That's usually in the background. I call him my cousin. So it looks like we're kind of done with the questions, guys. Do you want to chime in on anything else or show a couple of pieces before we sign off here?
Well, I have some stuff set aside if you want to.
Yeah, Mike, please, man. I always love looking. Yeah, well, why don't we end on a high note and check out a couple of your stuff there, Mike? I'm going to zoom in on you, buddy. All right.
There is. I know I posted in the Facebook group, but since he had just recently had passed away, Hank Aaron, his second to last card with the signature on there.
That's amazing.
Very nice. Very nice card. Very nice pack. And then as I was going through some packs to show, I realized that I had a little run going here. So I'll show the two of them next to each other. I got a 1970 and a 73, both with Johnny Bench showing on back.
Wow.
So I thought that was awesome. Pretty cool. I didn't realize that I had multiples of Johnny. So
it's kind of funny how that happens, right, Mike? I was looking through my collection the other day and I noticed I was loaded with Reggie's.
Yeah, I just, they were there and I was like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
And this is one that obviously is a big.
I love that pack.
And then for Kurt on back.
Yep. Billy Williams and crew.
I mean, that is really top tier stuff right there. That is an amazing. And the fact it's not only that it's Seaver, that look at the centering on that Seaver.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. The pack is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a really good card. And the provenance on this is impeccable too. This was purchased from a Larry Fresh card. So I know, it was sitting in his vault since 73 when he bought out whatever Tops's inventory was at the end of the year, and it's been sitting there ever since till I was lucky enough to purchase it from those guys. So definitely another pack that I was very happy to get.
Nice. And to answer Josh's question, I was drinking a scotch during the episode here, and I saw some beers wailing before there, so I'm not sure what the other guys are drinking, but Friday night talking cards, of course, I'm going to have a nice little drink alongside with you guys. So, all right, Mike, take it away here, bud. What else you got for us?
Well, I think we talked about it before. I'll show it again. The Ozzy rack.
I mean, it's funny. It's funny, obviously, that is the key call out, but you casually have a second year Molitor right next to it, which is a big card also.
We're missing the twin player.
And I added the twin there just for Kurt.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get a Herbeck in there, even if he's 82. You just got to sneak him in there.
And then this one too, with not only George Brett, but you got Willie Stargell.
That is great.
I think on back, you got a Lefty Grove. I always like that subset from 76. That was a nice addition to the 76 set.
That is some great stuff, Mike.
And then here, 71. Another twin we got there for Kurt. And let me see if I can find which cell he's in. I think he's in the center here.
Yep.
Hunter on back.
That's a great.
This is a Series 1, 71. So hopefully within here is a Thurman Munson. I like to think Thurman Munson's in here. I'll never open it, so I'll just imagine that he's in there.
The lighting has everybody thinking you have a stash going, Mike.
No, it's just not colored down here. It's there. It's actually here, but it's going Santa. It's going Santa Claus on.
Everyone thinks you have a Harry Reams stash. Oh, that's great. Oh,
actually, man. It looks almost like a Sparky Lyle type thing going on here. You know?
Oh man.
Here's a couple more for you before we go.
Yep. Oh, that's a beauty. Good? Yep. Look, okay. I can see the top one. The bottom one's cut off there. There you go.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Those I pulled out specifically for you.
That is great. Drooling.
Let's see if I have anything else left here. Got a 73 with Fisk. So this is a good companion pack for Kurt's pack.
Yes, it is.
I see a monumental trade brewing here.
No, this isn't going anywhere because of who's on back. I got Tom Terrific's on back. This
73 cello for a 54 cello and cast considerations.
And then of course I've kind of shown this one a lot, but this is my favorite.
I love that one.
74. I love the 74 Seaver.
Yeah, that's a beautiful one. I believe in my when we did the interview, that was the one that was going to your grave, right?
Yes, this one's getting buried with me. Unfortunately, I'm not inviting anybody to my funeral, so you guys will not know where I am.
All of a sudden, it's like, wow, the turnout. There's like 3,000 people here.
And they're all standing around waiting for the end of the service.
What's up with the fishing nets?
Yeah.
Oh, too funny. Thanks for sharing that awesome collection. It lends well to today's theme, guys, 70s baseball. We got some more comments here going. And in the meantime, I don't know if you, Kurt, you showed some pretty good stuff there. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to kind of show here before we sign off.
I got just a couple others. So I won't show the ones we I've all done, but I got just a couple.
Sure,
I got three packs and a couple of trays that I haven't shown. So we've talked about him several times tonight. There is a 79 cello with Ozzie Smith on back.
Awesome.
That is where he should be. Yep. Talk about difficult items. 74 baseball cello packs are fairly difficult. This is a nice one. It has Reggie Jackson and Stargell showing.
Very awesome. Nice.
And then one other pack here. 75 mini cellos are fairly tough. I know Mike remembers this. Mike helped assist with the purchase. This is a 75 mini cello with George Brett on back.
Wow.
See the Brett, I don't know, maybe. But 75 with Brett on back. And then all you wax tray lovers, even though I do not like wax trays, will close out on these two guys here. This is a 75 baseball wax tray. Very difficult. And to up it one more, this is even more difficult. Here is a 74 baseball wax tray.
Wow. Yeah, I always make the mistake of, letting you guys go first in these episodes. I come in here and I'll show, all I have is a rock. Now, I'll make mine. I'll make mine real quick. Since I already took them out, guys, it was lending to the theme, and hopefully I don't get too much glare. But I showed this one on the site, guys, and I'll zoom in on myself here. Hold on. And sorry about the glare. But this was thanks to Grote Mart, I was able to get this Necro Ryan and Eddie Murray on the back.
That's an incredible pack.
Yeah, I love this. This is definitely, this made my day, and the other Murrays that I got recently as well. I don't have them here today to show, but I do have a 9 as well, and a rack pack. I've shown this one before, but I just love showing it anyway because I didn't get to see much of his peak years. Oh, this stinks. I really want to show this one. Tom Seaver back is this. This is a mini 75. And sorry again for the glare. I have a lot of lighting going on, but got a 75 pack. And if I get too much glare, I'll kind of just stop here. But let me see if I can get this going right. Here we go. Got a 3-card cello pack with Alan Trammell rookie, the Burger King one. I thought this is just really cool. And it's actually, these are pretty hard to get centered, and this one's actually in pretty good shape. So, I just like the fact that it's a single card. And they got a Murphy.
Murphy.
Yeah, guys, I know I've been shamelessly plugging my needs, but I am one Whittaker away from getting every rookie in an open format. So anybody selling a Whittaker, and I'm talking about Topps issue. I have the Burger King, but if the Topps issue's out there and if somebody wants to sell, I'm a buyer. So yeah, I got this one in a 9, so it's a smudgeless Molitor Trammell.
Oh, nice.
Nicely. Yeah, it's a great centered pack. And super happy with that one. Kind of rounding. Yeah, I'll just round up here. I just wanted to show this one. This is not exactly like anything out of this world, but you don't see these too much encapsulated. This is a 75 pack I bought, the mini 3-card pack. And I actually found out from Mike and Tim talking to them that this was a pack that you would typically find in the fun bags, right, Mike?
Yep. Yeah, actually, I ripped some of those fun bags packs.
They're not easy to find. I mean, it's not that it's impossible to find, but when I saw it, I jumped on it, and even though it's a 7, but I was like, I want to add one because it just lends itself to the variations in 75 that were kind of more than most other years. So I wanted to add that to the mix. And last on my little list here is a second year Morris 79 PSA 8. So these are some of the ones I was unearthing for today's episode in the spirit of 70s. So one last check here. And guys, thanks for the comments. This is what makes the show great. Kurt and Mike, thanks for always being the guinea pigs, if you will, for my first episodes. And, I think this is great. It's funny. I was thinking this would be like a 60 to 90 minute, and it turned into over 2 hours of great conversation on 70s. So I mentioned I'll keep you guys updated on future episodes to come. But the one that's already firmed up is Hobby Talk Live for next Friday. And I'll post the guests and everything later on. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. And Kurt, Mike, thanks as always for being amazing guests and sharing some awesome knowledge. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
All right, guys. Thanks for chiming in, and we'll talk soon. Take care.